Hello guys, Damien Jones here again for you today, and today I thought we would take a little look at my ReAction figures by Funko. They're classic style. Most of my collection are Universal Monsters and some variants. I also have some classic loose figures by Remco to show you, but first of all we will look at the miscellaneous horror figures that I have in my collection. So, first of all, we have Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th, which is very nice. They're these classic Star Wars style figures, 3 3/4 inches. This is a miscellaneous one from the horror series by ReAction Figures, and as you can see, it features a rather nice photograph of Jason Voorhees from, excuse the glare on that, Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives, I believe. I only have Jason in this series, and as you can see, he's quite a generic looking figure, but he does the trick. There's some nice detailing on the clothing, and he comes with a little plastic machete. Others in the series by Funko include Scream Face from Scream, Eric Draven from The Crow, Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, Pinhead from Hellraiser, and also Sam from Trick or Treat. And that's that one. Jason Voorhees, very good. I also have from the Alien series Kane with Chestbuster, who's actually quite a rare figure in the collection. As you can see, he has the obligatory chestbuster bursting out of him, just like in the film. Doesn't come with any accessories, but as always with Funko, there's a great artwork from the film. They also do variants of Jason with blood spattered all over him. That's a lot rarer. Keep your eye open for that. So we have Kane with his chestbuster. Others in this series include Ripley in a spacesuit, Kane with his chestbuster, Kane with a face hugger, and the alien itself. That's some great artwork. So those are my miscellaneous Funko ReAction figures. Let's have a look at the Universal Monsters now. First of all, I have the Mummy. There are different variants of these figures. I have the colour variants. You can also get them in black and white to mirror the films that they were in the 30s. I have, as I say, the Mummy as played by Boris Karloff, which actually isn't a bad likeness considering it's such a small figure. That's some great artwork. I'll show you the other figures in this collection, because I've managed to not only complete the Universal Monsters, but also I've got some variants. There's the Frankenstein's monster, Bride of Frankenstein, the Invisible Man, and Wolfman in Series 1. And in Series 2 there's Dracula, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Phantom of the Opera, and the Mummy. And as you can see, the Mummy pictured on the back is the black and white variants, but mine's the colour. And there he is, the Mummy. Let's see who else I've got. I've got Frankenstein, or rather Frankenstein's monster, as played by Boris Karloff. And that is just a great little figure. It's taken from the Bride of Frankenstein, the artwork used on the cover. And what I love about this is it's such a nod to the old Remco figures from the 1980s and late 70s and 80s, which I have here. This is a 1980 loose Frankenstein. You'll notice the way the paint application on the figure's faces, if we can get a focus, is more or less very similar. The vintage ones might be slightly more detailed. Variants of this figure are basically different coloured clothes. I think you can get him with a green jacket on. But that's Frankenstein, or rather Frankenstein's monster. Next up, I have the Wolfman. There are many variants of this figure. Mine is the Series 1, or rather the first wave of it, which is brilliant. I really like the detailing on this. I love the claws and the bare feet. Other variants of this, there are variants of the card. Later cards have just the Wolfman's face rather than a whole body picture like on mine. And there are colour variants. You can get them in black and white. You can get them in transparent as well, I've seen. And also they do a version with like a flock covering to simulate hair, which is very nice. So that's the Wolfman. I also have the Bride of Frankenstein, as played by Elsa Lanchester. This is one of the figures that Remco never released. So to have Elsa Lanchester in this 3 3/4 inch style is an absolute first. It's never been done before. This is probably one of the rarer figures, probably the rarest one to get in the series as well. But it's a lovely figure, and it's certainly worth having. So that's the Bride of Frankenstein. Also in the series, we have Lon Chaney as the Phantom of the Opera. You can see by the what I mean by the sort of paint style, what they've done with the bags around the eyes is very similar with the Remco figures from the 80s. Only I suppose the Remco figures from the 80s were better done. Simple vinyl cape, you know, very similar to say like what the original Darth Vader figure would have had in the 80s. But there we have it, the Phantom of the Opera. Very nice. Also in my collection, I have Bela Lugosi as Dracula. It's a really nice card, this one. I like that picture of him sort of just creeping around the side there. He looks really menacing. Excellent stuff. Next up, I have 2 versions of the Invisible Man. I have this variant, which is the ordinary variant. You can also get him with a different coloured sort of smoking jacket on there. I think that's shown on the back. See, it's a slightly different colour on the back to what mine is. Only very slightly, but there are colour variants. I think there's a version of him with a blue robe. Look out for that. Nice artwork of him there. And a great film too. The other variant I have of the Invisible Man is an Entertainment Earth exclusive Okay, and it's exactly the same figure, only it's just cast in clear plastic to simulate his invisibility, which I just thought was a really nice touch, and I thought I had to have that variant. Next up, I have probably the most detailed figure in the entire collection, and my personal favourite, the creature from the Black Lagoon, which is just marvellous with all the scales and things on it. I also have the original by Remco from the 80s here to compare and contrast. Different body sculpt, different mould and everything, and slightly more detail on the abdomen of the new figure. But if you can find these old ones, they're worth picking up. Okay, and finally in my Remco collection I have yet another creature from the Black Lagoon variant, and this is a Super 7 New York City Convention exclusive. And you might think, what is the difference when you compare it? It's more than a colour variant. This one is an actual glow-in-the-dark one, which is an absolute must. And you'll also notice the variation between the eye colour, which is really quite nice. So there they are, guys. That's my ReAction figures, and also a couple of my Remcos just chucked in for the variation. And thanks for watching.